above. Everything changes through the lens of love. Oh, come alive through the lens of love.
Praise be to God, the Lord led you here today. Welcome to Through the Lens of Love. I'm your host, Helen Eimers, inner healing and success coach, and truly a woman on an everlasting journey towards interior freedom. In this space, we open the door to see ourselves, the world, our circumstances, and our work through the lens of love, where we truly get to ask, what if you could see yourself, your life, your relationship the way God sees you? That's the invitation for this podcast. And today I have a very special guest, my friend, Sarah, and she has an incredible story. We have been connected now for almost a year, coming up on our 1-year anniversary. And Sarah is a chiropractor. She's from Missouri, and her and I met last September at a conference in San Antonio that I was speaking at. So she's going to share a little bit more about that. Sarah, like I said, is a chiropractor. She has 3 amazing kids, and I'm just going to let her tell you a little bit about herself before we hop into our conversation.
So, thanks for having me, first of all. I am a chiropractor in small town Missouri. I've been in practice for 8 years. I've got 2 amazing kiddos, and been married to my amazing husband for, I always get this wrong, I'm like 14 years.
Yay! Congratulations. Oh my gosh. I have to think about it too, and the ages of my children. So welcome, Sarah. I'm so grateful you're here. Just really so much gratitude and love to you. And it was really God's divine plan that we met at this conference in San Antonio. I met a lot of amazing women, including yourself. I was speaking, I had one of the keynote speeches, and I encouraged women to do something maybe different than what they were used to doing. And so Sarah heard me speak at this conference. And I'm just curious, Sarah, like when you went to this conference, when we met, what was your vision? What did you want to get out of this conference?
So, it was kind of funny. I was at a point in life where I was done. I was burned out. I didn't want to be a doctor anymore. I didn't want to be a mom. I didn't want to be a wife. I didn't want to caregive for anyone anymore. I was done. And so I went to San Antonio because I'm like, okay, it's a chiropractic conference. That's my excuse. But I left wanting to run away and to try to find some clarity so that I wasn't feeling quite so burned out and done.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. Has anyone ever had that experience that's listening that where you're like, I need to go away. I need to be done. I need to escape. I know for me, that was huge for me early on in my work and in my professional life. Like, oh, I just have to run away from this because I'm so burnt out. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that. So Sarah is a doctor, chiropractor. She's got 2 kids. She's got a husband, and she's like, I am done. And that was like a resounding gong when you said that, because I've been there. I've been through that. And so I'm on stage and I am sharing a message about how you are a gift. And I'm encouraging women to look through a mirror. And unbeknownst to me, Sarah, you came up to my booth right after this.
It wasn't right after. I waited.
Well, it wasn't
I was
right.
like, no, I don't know if I need to go right after.
Uh-huh. But tell me what that was like. You heard me speak, and what was the defining moment where you were just like, oh, or you tell us in your experience what that was like.
So I just remember when you walked in, there was an energy that you brought that I immediately felt drawn to. And then I also had the thought of, I used to have that. That's been killed in me, like it's died a little. And so I'm like, and I want that back. And that's what I kept, like, these were some of the thoughts that were going through my mind. And I remember like everything that you said. I'm like, am I wearing like a t-shirt that says what's going on in here? Because I felt like everything that you said was my life. I'm like, did somebody send her something? Like, all of it was, I mean, I think I've said this to you multiple times where I feel like you just reached inside my soul and grabbed me and said, come on, we're going to do this thing. And I was like, okay, yes, like whatever you have, I want. And I waited and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go talk to her. No, I'm not going to go talk to her. And I finally was like, you kept looking at me. Probably not. Like, actually, like,
I love to look at people. I love people. I like, hey.
Even after. And I was like, okay, fine. I will go and I will at least introduce myself. And then, I mean, the tears were just flowing out. You said all of the things that I had been feeling, and it made me look in the mirror, and I didn't want to. Like, that's what I was trying to avoid, you know?
Uh-huh. We love to avoid those things. And I'm so like, thank you for your bravery in coming to talk to me. This is what we do sometimes is we like feel this nudge, we feel this pull and we hold back, we hold back, we hold back. And then when you came, there was a release. And like, I remember you coming up and like, all of a sudden we're both crying and we're both hugging and we're both like, I'm like, I love you so much. And you're like, did someone tell you what to say on stage? Cause like, you just like called me out on on everything. And what I was really talking about is reimagining yourself, right? Seeing yourself through a different lens, seeing yourself and knowing that you are the gift and we can lose ourselves in life, in our business, in caring for others, and especially those who have a profession in like a service-based profession. Right? We're just like, we're taking care of everyone all the time that we forget to take care of ourselves. And then we have all these roles that and these hats that we wear, mom, wife, daughter, and then you've got your work and we can lose ourselves. And so I'm curious at that time in your life, right? Like if someone looking from the outside in could have been like, well, she's a doctor. She's got 2 kids. She's got a husband. Like everything's fine. Like you had what most people would look at from the outside and call a really full, beautiful life. But, you said I was done, but what else was actually happening on the inside?
There was so much loneliness and emptiness. And I mean, quite honestly, a lot of grief was so deep in there. Let's see, that was in 25. I had lost my mom in 22, lost my dad in 24 after caregiving for him and bringing him into our home. And that was, a nasty battle with cancer. And, my mom was sudden, but had been dealing with dementia for years before that. And so I had been caregiving in those capacities and I had lost them so suddenly. And I even remembered that somewhere in there, my therapist, like I had been through many, many therapists throughout life. And this therapist that I feel like had really gotten inside and was able to know when call me on my stuff. And she had a baby that she had to step away from her practice because they were going to need full-time care. And I was like, my therapist even left me,
Yeah.
just feeling so, I guess victimized, like all of these people are leaving me. Why am I getting close to these people and then leaving? And, I have like you said, I have all of the things on the outside. I have the house, I have the practice, I'm a doctor, like all of these things. I've checked all the boxes. And why am I still feeling so empty and so lost?
And can you answer that? Why were you feeling so empty and lost?
I had not taken the time and space that was needed, I feel like, to truly appreciate me and to sit in some of that and to be okay with it and to do the work. I think I had said to you before, I kept waiting for somebody to come and rescue me. Everybody would say like, oh, like, poor you and you'll be okay. Grief takes time, all of the things that, everybody says it. I'm like, that's not helping. None of that is actually helping me. I
Right.
don't want to be coddled, but I also don't want like huge fire kick in the butt,
Right. You're like, stop. I've had enough loss. Like this, like, when will it end? I am done. Right. Going back to that. And so thank you so much for sharing that story. You heard Sarah say that she lost both of her parents somewhat, young in her young age and unexpectedly and most definitely not planned. Right. And then there's so much, my friend Deb likes to say, grief is more than just losing someone, which like you did in this situation, but like loss of grandparent time with your grandkids, with your kids, like there's a lot that surrounds that I think we forget about when we lose something or when we feel all alone. And it sounds like you just did what you had to do and you championed on through and you just kept going. And it can be hard to sit in those emotions of grief, but you were at the retreat this year. And one of the most beautiful things that came out of that is like, what if both could be true? And, the movie I Can Only Imagine 2, which features Mercy Me, the second movie shows that beautifully, like holding grief and gratitude at the same time. But having someone support you through that process is super beautiful because you don't have to carry it alone. That's not meant for you to carry alone. It's a place where you go for support. And you had gone to therapist. What else had you tried to do to kind of get out of this mode? Like what was working and what was not working?
So I've read all the books, not all of them, but I have always kind of been like self-help junkie. And so I'm like, oh, if I've got this thing going on, I'm going to find a book on that. So I read a lot of like grief books and understood that was a piece of what was happening, but couldn't figure out how to get past, I guess, past some of the practicality of that. I'm like, I understand that I'm grieving, but what does that look like? What does it look like to grieve and be a person in society? I mean, and keep rolling with being an entrepreneur, being a mother, being a homeschool mother, being a wife and doctor. Like, how do you do both? How can both be true?
How can both be true? How do we function, right? And this is
Yes.
where, and we all have situations that happen in life, circumstances that are out of our control. And how I love to help women and myself in this life is like with the thought work, right? Because it's whatever our thought is, then comes our emotion or our feeling. And that's what shifted everything for me as well. And I know that was a shift for you. Now I remember you saying like, yep, I've tried therapy. And then you dropped a little something to me when we first started working together. And I was like, whoa, I don't know if that should be my tagline, but it was really powerful. Sarah's like, well, I hired you and I fired my therapist. And I was like, I did not tell you to do that. I did not tell you to that. That is, I don't tell anyone to do that. I love therapists. And it's really beautiful when someone will challenge our thoughts, will help us challenge our thoughts out of love. And we all receive coaching differently. We all give feedback and coaching differently. And so I just encourage anyone listening that if you're on a healing journey and it feels like you're stuck, there's so many practitioners out there, including licensed therapists and coaches like myself, who approach it so differently. So I encourage you like not to stay stuck where you are and to keep supporting yourself and seeking what is really gonna help you. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Through the Lens of Love. I am passionate about sharing what helps me activate each day in my life and my faith. In honor of that, I want to highlight this episode's sponsor, Pink Salt Riot. I was introduced to this company at the Encounter Ministries conference and felt an instant connection with Ashley, who is at the helm of this woman-owned Christian company. The mission of Pink Salt Riot is to create wearable daily reminders of the truth. I am in love with their truth bands. It's a flat band that's stretchy, cloth-like material that you wear on your wrist with beautiful designs on the outside and a mix of scripture and affirmations on the inside. They have kids, women's, men's sizes, and I grabbed one for each member of my family and was sure to stock up to have plenty on hand to give as the perfect gift. In their online store, Pink Salt Riot also also has jewelry, stationery, stickers, and so much more. Every item is meant to anchor you back to who God says you are, especially when the lies get loud. As a way to share this light with you all, head on over to pinksaltriot.com and use the code LensOfLove10 at checkout for a 10% discount. And now let's get back to the show. So you came up to me at the booth. You're crying. I'm crying. I'm so grateful. I'm like, God brought us together. This is so amazing. And you said, like, you know, it was your energy. It's like, I used to have that. I want that back. And so it's so important to be in the energy of other women who are doing things, who are shining their light, especially when yours feels dull at the moment. Tell me what, like, your experience for you has been like surrounding yourself with me, as working together, surrounding yourself with the rest of the amplifiers. What has that been like?
So, first of all, I feel like the thing, well, you say I fired my therapist. That's something you were talking about. It's hard to know when to switch gears, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was my like catalyst there, right? Like I found you and I'm like, okay, and now we're done with this one.
Again, this disclaimer, don't stop going to therapy. Right. And you will connect differently and people will hold space differently for you. And we are all so different. Our love language, our relationships, the way we speak is unique to us. And so find someone who's going to support you and hold space. And, you know, and maybe you can share, like, maybe what is different about the way I hold space versus maybe a space where you weren't moving forward. What is different about that?
So I've been trying to figure out like how to put into words. Whenever I first started, it was, you know, here's kind of practical tips, which I always appreciate, right? I'm, like I said, a self-help junkie. So I loved that here are these modules, I guess, right? Classes. And here is kind of a framework for where to start. And I'm like, okay, got it. And then, because I can check things off a list. I'm a high achieving woman, you know, like that I can do. But you also ask the questions and you pause. You get so curious. And we always give you a hard time about it, but it's truly from a place of love. You want to know the answer. You're not just asking the question to check it off your list, right? You're not just putting this question out into the world. You truly care about us and you wait and you pause for that answer so that we can dig deeper to get to the root of the feeling or the thought.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm always trying to put what I do into words as well. And like, thank you so much. Yes, you're a high achiever. Yes, you can check things off the list, as can all of you listening, right? I have no doubt in that. And I work with so many women who have read all the books, yet it's like something's missing. Something won't click here. And that's how it was for me, right? Like I had all the knowledge, yet I was still making choices and habits, but it was because I wasn't willing or didn't have the support to truly, in a very safe way, experience my emotions. And so any negative emotion that I had, I like shoved it in a closet and like, see you later. I'm too strong for this. I'm better than this, except or I I avoided it altogether because I was like, oh, that's like too painful. And I am someone who experiences joy and wants to feel that. And so you know what happens when those emotions like bubble up from below. And what that's like. And so I am very curious. Yes, you guys love to joke with me about that. Like, I'll be like, I'm so curious. And they're like, she's at it again. She's like, here she is, a curious cat. And truly, yes, out of love. And I know that when I am able to ask a question like that, it opens your heart, it opens your brain to be able to ask yourself the same question to get to the root of what is going on there. And so thank you for sharing that. That's so beautiful. And, we were working together for about a month. Like, essentially, we both went home from the conference. We got on a call the next week. It's like, okay, we're doing this. And I've heard women say before, like, there are some of us who like, yep, I like the tasks, I like the to-do lists. And, if I truly told women what we did in sessions sometimes, they'd be like, nope, sorry, too uncomfortable. Because you will get uncomfortable. If you want to change anything in your life, in your business, in your relationships, you're going to feel uncomfortable because where you're at right now feels very safe, even though it is absolutely miserable, right? You could be absolutely miserable and be like, safe here, not going to change. And so, disclaimer, if you work with me, you will feel uncomfortable. You're welcome. Out of so much love. Sarah knows this. Actually, our first inner healing session to the second, she told me, I remember her saying like, the second one, like, I didn't want to tell you to like, shut up this time. Like, I didn't want to tell you to like, go away. Like, I wasn't angry at you. That's what you said. You're like, I wasn't angry at you this time. I wasn't angry because the first time she was feeling some stuff. And I'm just like, oh boy, here we go. And the second time, as you evolve, right, the process I take women through is really truly a rebirth of who you are, your thoughts, your heart, and those emotions. And so some women come into this work and they're like, I love the structure. I love the checklist. And I've had other women say, I love that you didn't tell me what to do, because also as high achieving women, right, like we're told what to do a lot, I feel like, because people have ideas for us, especially when we run a business. And so it's a blend of both, I would say. So about a month into working together, right? We got home from the conference. We're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. We love each other. Or like, this is going to be amazing. The whole vibe. You jumped like head first into like, I see what's possible. And I'm not giving up on myself. And I'm so proud of you for that. I love you for that. Those are the type of women I work with that like see an energy. And instead of saying, I wish I had that, she said, I'm going towards that. And that is the catalyst for change every single time. I've spent a lot of time in my life saying, must be nice. I wish I had that. It didn't help me get anywhere. But when I say, oh my gosh, she just unlocked that new level, let me join her in that. Let me have her help me. So about a month in, you sent me a message saying, hey, I'm 100% caught up on all my office paperwork for the first time in years. I was like, praise be to God. Like, what was actually shifting for you then?
Well, that's what's funny is like it wasn't the getting stuff done, because I could have just sat down and put myself in a room and gotten it all done. It was the inner work that was just happening inside that I can't fully describe. It's some voodoo magic.
Praise be to God, right? It's very
it's showing up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's showing up, and I did the work. I created a plan, used that passion planner in the way that was set forth, and I was able to put systems in place and was able to knock it out and then celebrate. That's the other thing you taught me.
We love to celebrate over here, don't we? And so what I heard you say is it wasn't about getting stuff done, because like you have the capacity to do that. And here's always my question. Why do we have all these things we want to get done, but we're not doing them? What is underneath that that's holding us back? That's what I want to help women find. That's what I want to help women break through, because I have no doubt you can do the job. Like, that's not even a question. The question is, what's holding you back? The question is, what's creating that pause? The question is, then why aren't you doing it? And number two, like, why are you making it so miserable for yourself to do it? Because a lot of time we take action from a thought that actually doesn't support us. And the best example I can think of is my very first life coaching client was, she would say her goal was to lose weight, let's say 30 pounds. And I kind of reworked back to her thought, and her thought was, I am fat. Okay, if your motivation is coming from a thought that is not through the lens of love, it's number one, going to feel miserable the whole time. Even if you can achieve it, but it'll feel miserable, and likely it will not be everlasting. Or you won't achieve it at all. You'll just give up. And so like, what is the thought behind each motivation, behind each result that you want to create? And that's when I told her, I said, you don't need a Beachbody coach, which is what I was doing at that time. I said, you need a life coach. And she's like, can you do that? I was like, sure, let's do it. And that's how I started coaching on a different level. And so thank you for sharing that. Sarah said it wasn't about getting stuff done. It was the inner work, AKA noticing your thoughts and then choosing another thought, a softer thought. And, you know, we've worked a lot through affirmations, right? And affirmations alone don't work because that might be like, well, I'm skinny. Okay, well, I don't believe that either, right? It has to be something you believe. And so I teach bridge thoughts, right? I'm becoming the woman who loves herself. If you can't say I love you yet, you just, I'm becoming the woman who, and that can change everything. So you message me like, I'm 100% caught up on paperwork for the first time in years. And I just remember, I was like, oh, how do you feel? How did you feel when you were like caught up on that?
So light. So just like, wow, I did that. So
Yeah.
proud.
Oh my gosh. And what is
And
that?
like, I think the kids and I went to ice cream that day, you know?
Yay, celebrate good times. Come on. Oh, you felt so light. You celebrated. What did that energy create in you, in your relationships, in your life?
That I'm able to then bring that into everything I do, right? All of my interactions with patients, just with people in the grocery store. That's the thing that I think I've noticed more, that light has, that spark has come back to life because of doing this work. And I'm able to not be apologetic for, how are you today? Good. How are you? I'm wonderful. I'm amazing, and not being like, oh, well, they said that they're not doing so great, like in my office, right? People are typically in pain, unfortunately. And so people are not feeling great whenever they come into my office. And so I would hold back a little bit of me. And that's something that I think has been open to where I can be that person that is wonderful and amazing and doing great and still care for you and whenever you're not doing your best, I feel like my level of caring has even deepened, and I was pretty natural born caregiver, I feel like. And I feel like through being able to do the work on the inside of me, I was able to then take better care of my patients and my family and my friends.
Amen. Amen. The ripple effect of doing inner work, which isn't always easy, which feels uncomfortable, which, sometimes makes you run away. And then the importance of having someone that you trust and who's going to hold you in a space of love is so beautiful. I'm so grateful for everyone who has coached me and held space for me in a similar way. And you, as my client, my friend, like you do that too. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful. You talked what I heard there is like giving from overflow versus depletion. You were always giving. You were always helping. You were always trying to save, right? Like this is what we get into, especially as women in service-based, or like we're helping. It's like we want to save, we want to fix everything. We want to save everything. And we fall into this martyrdom. Right? It's like, I need to do this, or I have to do this, or they can't do this without me. That's for sure. And so we get into this savior mode versus us showing up out of full energy of giving, not from obligation, but from overflow. And I can feel that difference in you. Now, earlier you talked about the coddling wasn't doing anything for me, yet I just wanted someone to come save me. And I was stuck in this victim mentality. And it's like, you could know it, you could see it. You've read the books, you're a doctor, right? Just tell me what that was like for you. And maybe looking back, what can you see now that you couldn't see in the process of that? Maybe so if there's any woman who's listening who might be in that phase and can't see it or feel it fully, maybe looking back, what would you say about that?
I wish that I knew fully like what I needed in that moment, because I know that I didn't need the coddling and I didn't need like a harsh get up, go do the thing, just keep it one front of the other, buck up, buttercup kind of mentality. I didn't need too much of this and I didn't need too much of this. There was a combo, and I think that combo was looking within and finding that love for myself from within that I couldn't find completely on my own. Like those thoughts that repeat in our head and tell us the crazy stories, our beautiful brains.
Mm-hmm.
they lie to us, right? They tell us these crazy things that, you know, woe is me. Everyone has left me. I'm all alone. These stories that we're told, and having to break down those thoughts and ask. I think on one of the first calls that I was on, you talked about like you can't break down a thought unless you ask it why like 7 times or something, right? Isn't there like the rule of 7 whys or something like that?
The rule of 7, like well, why? Well, why? And it's annoying, and I hate my coaches when they do it to me, and I get pissed off. But it's like, if you tell me like this isn't working, I'm going to ask you why. And then when you say it, I'm going to ask why. And I do this to a lot of women, but there was one I specifically remember. And by the time she got to the root, she's like, oh, because they're not going to like me. And I was like, there's the magic. That's the thought. That's the core thought, the core belief that you are leading yourself through all of this with. And when you lead with that, you are going to be defensive. You are going to try harder. You are going to try to overcompensate. And so, yeah, if you ever have a thought, number one, there's a book called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. And she talks about any thought that you have. Number one, ask it, is it true? Right? Like, is it true? If it is true, because your brain is going to think it's true, your brain's going to want to be right, you ask it again, is it really true? And if it is, then how do you turn it around? So I love to ask that, and then also take the thought and be like, why? And that's really powerful. So thanks for sharing that. Yeah. And so you do see yourself differently. So tell me about that. What would you say your relationship with yourself looks like today compared to September 2025?
I was showing my husband a couple of these questions last night, and he was like, completely different.
Thanks be to God. Yay.
That man has been very patient and very kind through all of the process. He's stayed by my side through all of it. But I was unhappy. I was stressed out. I was burned out. It was one of those, like, nothing was going to make me happy. No amount of anything was going to help. I was, just so broken. And today I can understand that both can be true, right? I can see that this is a hard day, right? Let's just grief. Let's say it's an anniversary or something. It can be a hard day, and we can still go have a really fun day at the lake or do whatever. Like, we can do both. We can hold space for both things. That was never a thought in my head almost a year ago. I wouldn't even go in that direction, that the what if both can be true. And I also find that I do have more joy today. I can be more myself. It was always like an outgoing, fun person, and there was a part of that light that had been dimmed. And there were certain times that I could pull it out, but it felt very forced. And it doesn't feel forced today. I can truly love from a place of that overflow, and from a place of my capacity is at a wonderful place, and being able to just pour out from overflow.
It's amazing. Thank you for sharing that kind of evolution of where you were, where you are now. And there are seasons in life, right, that are hard. But what I heard in all of this is you are choosing to honor, right? Like you are just choosing to honor all of the bits and pieces and parts of you and your emotions, and see yourself, those emotions, those circumstances, through the lens of love. Because we know the alternative, right? Like, your light is dimmed, right? Who dimmed your light?
I did.
Yeah. So we are our biggest cheerleader, and we can be our biggest enemy, truly. And you shared too about this. We've worked on this a lot too, about like this apologizing, and you are someone who cares so much, and you want there to be peace, and you want people to be happy, and like, oh, I don't want to step on any toes or say the wrong thing. And you shared you were out in the wild, right? Sarah was out in the wild. Imagine Sarah in the wild. I love to be in the wild with Sarah. Okay. And so Sarah's in the wild. And she like just got home and you had a different experience. And do you remember what you shared with me? Do you remember that?
I remember talking about before, like maybe not wanting to go. Normally I would have maybe
But it was like you were
canceled.
at this experience and you got
Yeah.
home and then you were talking to Sean, your husband. Love him. Can't wait to meet him soon in a month or so. But you were talking to him and saying like, "Oh yeah, that didn't even bother me." And he was like, "Whoa, that didn't bother you?" So we as women sometimes let a lot of things bother us, a lot of things. And so that I think that was what I was specifically recalling.
Yeah. And I don't remember the exact incident, but I know that has happened multiple times over the
Mm-hmm.
last year where we make what other people say some story, right? And even in certain close relationships, we can make whatever they say mean something completely bizarre that they didn't mean at all. And I remember having a few different times whenever I was able to go somewhere, have a conversation with somebody, and just be like, oh, that was an interesting thought from them. And that was where that ended, right? And that's great. That's their thought. Here's my thought. And it just was. And that was, I don't know if I've ever been able to do that.
What a gift. And it's something, yeah, we've all had to work on. We all get to, it's a continual choice to show up to this work. Once you've had a taste of it, it's pretty addictive, right? I have a very addictive personality. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, how can I love people even more? Let me just be addicted to loving people. But I have my notes here now. You shared on an Amplify call. You went to an event over the weekend and you said, you shared, I was so grounded in the reality that other people's thoughts, words, and reactions don't mean anything about me, and that you weren't going to allow their thoughts and words to bring your energy down. And your husband, you said, here's what my husband said, wow, 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 best money ever spent. And I'm like, I got to quote that. I got like testimony from the husbands over here, right? Because this work is so important to do, you guys, in whatever form you do it or whoever you have support you. This is the work. So many people want to, reach ahead, see these goals. It's kind of like my sister-in-law is a dietitian, love her, but I would be like, hey, I'm having all these symptoms. What supplement can I take? And she would ask me, well, how much sleep are you getting? And I was like, yuck. I don't like that question because I don't have time to sleep, right? And so just give me a pill to fix it, right? Like we want this instant fix because we're miserable, right? And so that's what I say to my clients. Like they'll come to me and be like, oh my gosh, I'm just so stressed or I'm overwhelmed or what's happening and this is happening. I'm like, oh, when's the last time you practiced gratitude? When's the last time you like notice what your thought was, right? Like that's the inner work. And when we do that, we can build that capacity and expand our resources, be such good stewards of our time and our money and our influence and our businesses and our relationships. And so it's been so fun to see the evolution of that. And I thank you so much for sharing your story, the grief, right? Sarah lost both of her parents within a couple of years. And in the midst of that, she was a doctor. She was running a business. Sarah homeschools her kids as well. And she's a wife. Like she is the Jill of all trades. But now she gets to do so from a place of overflow and peace, which is really fun to watch and witness. Yeah. So what would you say to a woman sitting where you were sitting a year ago, right? Who has everything on paper, right? We'll just say that, like she's got looking from the outside, she's got everything on paper, yet she still feels lonely or empty or like she's running a rat race.
Keep searching. Keep listening, because the message that you're meant to hear will come. And I feel like it's so cliche to say you're not alone, but also you're not alone. Like there's so many women out there who are feeling that, who have felt that, who can relate and understand. Keep reaching out, keep being vulnerable. Follow those nudges. Go say hi to the lady that just tore your soul open.
You're welcome. I love you. So really I heard so much in there, right? Keep searching, keep listening, And really what happens when we're in that space of we feel empty, we feel lonely, we're running a rat race, we stop listening, right? Like we just shut down. We're like nothing, like we can't hear. And so that was so beautiful. Listening, keep showing up, know that you're not alone, and keep showing up in spaces where you do feel supported. And if you don't feel supported, keep searching for one. Like be active in that role of searching for that. So Sarah, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. And is there anything else you'd like to say, to share as we close out this episode?
I think in my brain, it was always therapy. Like I needed somebody to fix me in that way. Coaching was never something that I thought about. And so my hope is that more women can understand maybe what coaching can bring, and that it is so much more than just like talk therapy, and it more that inner work that I felt like I had been missing for a lot of years. And so I'm so thankful that I was able to open myself up to working with a coach versus working with a therapist. And not that everybody needs to fire their therapist, right? Like keep your therapist, but just I didn't know enough whenever I met Helen to know what a coach did and what that could provide. And so I think that my hope is that maybe more women can hear that message and know whether working with a coach might be good for them too.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And like, in addition to that, I remember after one of our inner healing hypnotherapy sessions, you shared, I can breathe deeper. Like you said, oh, is this like where some of my chest tightness is coming? Like it was a physical, right? Like doing this inner work created a physical release for you.
Yeah, I couldn't fully describe what happened in the session that then caused that. Like afterward, I could breathe deeper. I was lighter, and I was like, it's all good now.
Can I share in a nutshell what happens?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see yourself, your emotions, your situations through the lens of love.
Hmm.
Yeah. And what a beautiful space when we can do that for ourselves and for others. And so, Sarah, thank you so much for being here today, for opening your heart and sharing your story with all of us. I know there will be women or even men who are listening to this who have experienced loss and who were holding it all together and who were the glue to everything. And so if you're listening and if this conversation stirred something in you, don't let that piece go back into hiding. Just sit with it, pray with it. Like Sarah said, keep searching, keep listening, reach out, and you are not alone. So if you know a woman who needs to hear this, please share it with her. And until next time, I just encourage you to keep viewing yourself, your life, your relationships through the lens of love. The Lord brought you to this episode for a reason today. If you felt seen, that was meant for you. And if something stirred that you've been safely tucking away, don't let it go back into hiding. Bookmark this episode, re-listen, or share it with a woman who needs it. The ripple effect of shifting yourself and then sharing with others, that's why we were created. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and come find me at HelenImers.com. Until next time, keep seeing the world through the lens of love.
Oh, come alive through